Welcome to the Immigrant in Law channel. If you are thinking about moving to the European Union, especially with your family, one of the key issues that concerns most parents is, of course, education for their children. How comfortable will it be for the child? Do they need to know the language? What about kindergartens and schools in different EU countries? And what are the differences? Today we will look at how schools and kindergartens are organized in popular EU countries with a focus on quality, organization, language barriers, and accessibility for immigrant families. We will compare Germany, Slovenia, Spain, Poland, and France. These countries are often considered for immigration and each has its own specific characteristics. First, let's look at the big picture. Although each EU country has its own characteristics, the basic structure of the education system in the European Union is quite similar and is divided into several key stages. Preschool education, kindergartens, nurseries, covers children from birth to 5-6 years of age. Attendance is usually optional, but actively encouraged by the state. It includes the development of speech, motor skills, and socialization. In some countries such as France, older kindergarten groups are already part of the compulsory education system. Primary or elementary school usually begins at age 6 or 7 and lasts for 6 years, depending on the country. This is a compulsory stage at which basic academic and social skills are formed. Secondary education, the next compulsory level, divided into lower and upper secondary. At this stage, some countries divide students into academic tracks: technical, humanities, and vocational. High school or college is the final stage before university or entering the labor market. It includes either academic training, lyceums, gymnasiums, or vocational and technical training, colleges, vocational schools. It is important to understand that although the terminology may differ, the content is roughly the same. Education in the EU is generally free, especially in public schools. This is enshrined in the legislation of member states. However, parents may be asked to cover additional costs, such as meals, stationery, school trips, etc. There are private schools in every country, including religious, international, and elite schools, but they are not mandatory. In most cases, public schools provide a high-quality education that is comparable in terms of level. Compulsory school education generally covers ages 6 to 16, but the exact terms depend on the country. Foreign children have equal rights to free education in the EU, even if they are not yet familiar with the language of instruction. In a number of countries, there are adaptation classes or teacher support to facilitate integration. Now let's see how all this works in practice in specific countries. Kindergartens. Preschool education in Germany is not compulsory, but almost all children attend. Kindergartens accept children from the age of 1, but most children start attending at the age of 3. Formally, this is not part of the school education system, but preparation for school is often carried out in kindergartens. There are several types of institutions: municipal, funded by the state, but often lacking space; private, including religious, Waldorf and Montessori, and parent initiatives; cooperatives, where parents are actively involved in management. Waiting lists for kindergartens are common, especially in large cities. Places are allocated in advance, and it is best to register at least 6 months in advance, and sometimes even a year in advance. The cost depends on the federal, state, family income, and type of institution. In some regions, for example, Berlin, municipal kindergartens are free, while in others, parents have to pay between €50 and €400 per month. Education is conducted in German. Some kindergartens have bilingual groups, especially in large cities. Schools. Compulsory schooling begins at age 6. Primary school lasts 4 years. 6 years in Berlin and Brandenburg. One of the most controversial differences in the German system is the early differentiation between types of schools. Hauptschule, basic level, prepares students for blue-collar professions. Realschule, intermediate level, technical and economic focus. Gymnasium, academic preparation, path to university. Gesamtschule, combined school, with the possibility of transferring between levels. The choice of direction usually takes place at age 10, based on primary school recommendations, grades, and parental opinion. However, mobility between schools is limited, and early distribution often determines future career paths. Classes are mainly held before lunch, followed by optional classes or after-school activities. Homework is mandatory. Unlike many EU countries, Germany does not offer centralized school lunches. Meals are organized separately. The school system is highly regionalized. Each state is responsible for its own education policy and standards may vary. Pros: high academic standards, especially in secondary schools. A well-thought-out system of specialization allows students to choose their field of study early on. Free higher education is available, including for foreign students. A wide range of educational opportunities are available after school, from vocational training to universities. Cons: the difficulty of choosing a field of study at an early age. At 10 years old, children are often not ready to make such a decision. Requires a fairly high level of German language proficiency. Not all schools provide effective language support. Competition for places in the best schools and kindergartens. Regional diversity. The quality of education can vary greatly between states. The education system in Germany is considered one of the most structured in Europe. It offers a clear path to professional or academic success, but requires parents to pay attention to the stages, language training, and active participation in choosing a school. Kindergartens. Slovenia is rightly considered one of the most prosperous EU countries for families with young children. The preschool education system here is well organized and socially oriented. Kindergartens accept children from 11 months of age until they start school, 6 years old. Attendance is not compulsory, but virtually all children are covered by the preschool education system. Groups for children aged 3 to 6 are particularly popular. Most kindergartens are municipal, although there are also private institutions including those with alternative methods, for example Montessori or Waldorf. The quality of education and care is high and teachers undergo rigorous professional training. All kindergartens are required to accept foreign children regardless of citizenship or language proficiency. Conditions are created for them to adapt, and the language barrier is usually overcome quickly. Children are immersed in the language environment through play and communication. The cost depends on family income and the number of children. The subsidy system allows for a significant reduction in fees for families with an average income. It is €200 per month. For low-income families, it is even less. Large families receive additional discounts. The waiting list for a place in kindergarten is minimal. Unlike in Germany or France, there is no shortage of preschool institutions here. Schools. Compulsory education begins at age 6 and lasts for 9 years, grades 1-9. It is organized as a unified system, without early sorting or division into streams. All children study the same curriculum, which ensures a level playing field. The system provides for a balanced combination of academic disciplines and personal development, a moderate workload without pressure, an emphasis on independence and critical thinking, and a limited amount of homework in the early stages. Special attention is paid to supporting foreign children. The law provides for a so-called transition year. A child can study without grades during the first year in order to adapt to the linguistic and cultural environment. During this time, Slovenian as a second language classes are organized, as well as support from school teachers and psychologists. Additional advantages include small classes, 22 students on average, and close contact between the school and parents. From the 9th grade onwards, students can choose between academic and vocational education, high school, technical school, or college. However, this choice is made later than in Germany, which reduces stress and allows children to better understand their interests. Pros: calm and supportive learning environment, effective language and cultural adaptation for newcomers, no segregation or pressure at an early stage, affordable prices for kindergartens, small classes and attention to each child. Cons: limited number of private and alternative schools, especially outside Ljubljana. English language schools are almost entirely concentrated in the capital, with little choice in the regions. The curriculum is mainly in Slovenian. Bilingual classes are rare. The Slovenian education system is focused on equal opportunities, gentle socialization, and adaptation. It is particularly well suited for families moving with young children who need to feel comfortable entering a new linguistic and cultural environment. Kindergartens. The preschool education system in Spain is divided into 2 stages: nurseries for children to 3 years, preschool institutions for children aged 3 to 6 years. Although preschool education in Spain is not compulsory, almost 95% of children attend kindergarten, especially between the ages of 3 and 6. The state actively supports this segment as it sees it as having not only a social but also an educational function. From the age of 3, preschool education is free in most state institutions, but parents may need to pay extra for meals, after-school care, and additional services. Up to the age of 3, nurseries are mainly fee-paying, especially private ones, but in some regions, there are partial subsidies depending on family income. There are state nurseries, private and semi-private nurseries, and religious institutions. Waiting lists are possible, especially in popular areas of large cities, but they are less common and shorter than, for example, in Germany or France. Parents are advised to apply in advance, in the spring or early summer, depending on the autonomous community. Schools. Compulsory education in Spain begins at age 6 and is divided into several stages. Educación primaria, ages 6 to 12. Educación secundaria obligatoria, ESO, ages 12 to 16. After that, either bachillerato, academic track, or formación profesional, vocational training. The school system in Spain is characterized by flexibility, freedom, and an emphasis on personal development. There is no early pressure or selection, no exams at the elementary school level, and grades are introduced gently. An important feature is the presence of regional languages in the education system. Depending on the autonomous community, the language of instruction may be Catalan, Basque, or Galician. In all cases, children also learn Castilian Spanish, and often both languages are taught as equals. This creates a certain language burden for immigrant children. Schools focus on developing creativity, socialization, and emotional intelligence. The curriculum is less academic than in Germany or Poland, with more emphasis on group work, projects, and culture. Pros: a well-developed preschool education system. High coverage, even though it's not mandatory. An informal, non-competitive environment, minimal pressure on the kid. Well-designed integration programs for foreign kids, especially in big cities. Involvement of the family in the educational process. Close contact with teachers. Cons: the language barrier can be twofold. Children may need to learn Spanish and the regional language at the same time. which complicates adaptation. Less emphasis on the exact sciences and systematic training. This can be a problem for those who are oriented towards technical universities. The quality of education depends on the region. Standards can vary greatly between different autonomous communities. Education in Spain is gentle, humanistic, and focused on the child's comfort. It is ideal for families who value freedom in learning, the importance of creativity, and seek smooth integration into a new cultural environment. Kindergartens. The preschool education system in Poland is well organized and covers children from the age of 3. Attending kindergarten is not compulsory until the age of 6, but from the age of 6, children are required to attend a preparatory class, the so-called 0 year of education, which can take place in a kindergarten or at a school. There are several types of kindergartens: public kindergartens, which are the most accessible and have minimal fees; private kindergartens, which are fee-based but offer an expanded curriculum, often including English language instruction; and religious or alternative kindergartens, which exist but do not constitute a significant percentage. In large cities such as Warsaw, Krakow, and Wrocław, demand for kindergartens is high, and places may be limited. In regions and small towns, it is much easier to find a kindergarten. State kindergartens are practically free. Parents only pay for meals, approximately €1–2 per day, and after-school care if needed. Private institutions cost between €100 and €300 per month. The language of instruction is Polish. However, more and more kindergartens are offering English classes from an early age, especially in the private sector. Foreign children are accepted without restrictions, but language adaptation is more at the discretion of the specific institution. Schools. Compulsory school education begins at age 7. The system includes several stages: primary and secondary school, grades 1 through 8, then either a lyceum, a technical school, or a vocational school. Finally, a single exam gives the right to enter university. The school curriculum in Poland is characterized by high academic rigor. Much attention is paid to the exact sciences, grammar, history, and formal logic. Homework is mandatory and can be quite extensive, even at the elementary level. Instruction is conducted in Polish, but in recent years, more and more bilingual schools teaching in English have appeared in large cities. Poland is actively promoting the integration of foreign children. Schools create conditions for adaptation, introductory language courses, simplified requirements at the initial stage, and psychological support. However, in most cases, the child will still have to learn Polish quickly in order to keep up with the process. Pros: high academic discipline and rigorous training, low cost of education, especially in public institutions, familiar cultural environment and linguistic proximity for Eastern Europeans, rapid integration thanks to similar mentalities, wide network of schools and kindergartens throughout the country. Cons: less flexible approach to learning, traditional structure with an emphasis on memorization rather than creativity, strict framework in the assessment and behavior system. There are still few bilingual programs in schools outside of large cities, heavy homework load starting in elementary school. The Polish education system is suitable for those looking for discipline, a strong academic foundation, and low costs. Kindergartens. France is one of the few countries in the EU where preschool education is compulsory from the age of 3. This provision has been officially enshrined since 2019 and reflects the state's commitment to an equal start for all children, including those who do not speak French. The kindergarten system has 3 levels: Petite section, ages 3–4, Moyenne section, ages 4–5, Grande section, ages 5–6. These institutions are part of the national education system, which means they're not just childcare, but full-fledged education through play, with an emphasis on speech development, socialization, motor skills, and literacy preparation. Most kindergartens are state-run and almost free. Parents only pay for meals and some optional activities, around €50–100 per month. Private kindergartens exist, but less than 20% of children attend them. Foreign children are accepted on the same basis as local children. The language barrier is not an obstacle. Young children quickly learn French in a natural environment. Teachers have experience working with multinational groups. School education in France is structured according to a 3-tier system: primary school, ages 6–11, middle school, ages 11–15, high school, ages 15–18, followed by an exam. French schools are known for their fast pace, strict standards, and academic focus. Starting in elementary school, children are given a large amount of material to cover, especially in reading, writing, history, and civics. Particular attention is paid to the humanities, as well as to the French language as the main tool for socialization. Students write a lot, express their thoughts orally and in writing, and learn to think logically. After college, students choose either an academic, technological, or professional path. All paths can lead to obtaining the baccalaureate, which is necessary for admission to university. Special adaptation classes have been created for children who do not speak French. There, they learn the language and integrate into the educational process at the same time. Such classes are available in most public schools, especially in cities with a multinational population. However, the program is designed for rapid integration and requires a high level of motivation from the child. Parents must be prepared to actively support the adaptation process. Pros: strong and accessible early education system, high level of culture and education, including aesthetics and civic awareness, specialized classes for the adaptation of foreign children, unified state system with clear standards. Cons: academic pressure, High expectations, even for younger students. Almost all instruction is in French. English language schools are only available in large cities and are mostly fee-paying, from 10,000 euros per year. Little flexibility in the curriculum and weak emphasis on individual trajectories. The French education system is suitable for families who want to give their child a classical academic education with an emphasis on the humanities and culture, and who are willing to actively participate in the integration process. An important condition is motivation to learn French, without which it is difficult to progress through the system. In most EU countries, foreign children have the right to enroll in public schools without knowing the language of instruction. At the same time, each country has its own approach to adaptation. In Slovenia, children are given a transitional year without grades. In France, there are adaptation classes. In Germany, there are so-called invitation classes, with an emphasis on learning German. The earlier a child starts learning the language, the easier their integration will be. Even a basic understanding of the language significantly reduces stress in the first few months. Private and international schools. If you do not want your child to be immediately immersed in the national system, there are international schools in major EU cities, where instruction is conducted in English or another foreign language. Such schools are particularly relevant for families moving temporarily, as well as for those who plan to apply to a foreign university in the future. However, it is important to note that tuition fees range from 5 to 20,000 euro per year. Places are limited and competition is high. Not all regions have such schools. They are mainly found in capitals and large cities. As can be seen, education systems in EU countries have much in common, but also significant differences. Some countries, such as Germany and Poland, emphasize early specialization and academic rigor. Others, such as Spain and Slovenia, emphasize flexibility and attention to the emotional well-being of children. France focuses on a strong humanities foundation and early socialization. For families moving with children, it is especially important to consider language policy, accessibility of adaptation, financial burden, and the structure of the educational process. If your priorities are smooth integration, support for foreigners, and accessible infrastructure, Slovenia and Spain offer a comfortable transition. If you are focused on academic discipline and university admission, consider Germany, Poland, or France. Remember, choosing a country is not only a matter of personal preference, but also a strategy for your child's future. If you want to discuss the possibilities of moving to the EU in more detail, choose a country that is right for your family and understand how to navigate the process with the least risk. Submit a request for a free consultation with immigrant-in-law lawyers. We will select the optimal relocation strategy for you, prepare all the necessary documents, explain the nuances of the legislation in detail, and answer all your questions. We will analyze your case, your goals, and your situation without templates. Want to learn more or start the process today? Contact us. All contact details are listed in the description below this video. We are here to help you take a confident step towards a new life. Give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and ask your questions in the comments. I will be happy to answer them. Discover a world of opportunities with Immigrant-in-Law.